What happens when one of the world's most ambitious nations sets its sights far beyond its borders, aiming not just for the top of the economic pyramid, but for the stars themselves? Imagine watching, in real time, as a new power rewrites the rules of the ultimate frontier. Could China's space program be about to upend everything we thought we knew about the future of space, and maybe even tilt the balance of power here on Earth? Picture this. A screen flickers at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center. Shenzhou 20 astronaut Chen Dong inches along the hull of the orbiting Tiangong space station, Earth spinning majestically below. It's May 22, 2025. For the first time since China's station entered its full application and development phase, a pair of astronauts exit, not through the usual airlock, but via the node cabin of the Tianhe core module. Their mission? To install a debris protection device and perform critical inspections. Back on Earth, a nation watches live, fueled by pride, curiosity, and perhaps strategic anticipation. But this is more than just a spectacular display of technical prowess. It's a signal. China's presence in space is no longer a tentative experiment. It's an expanding reality, one with economic, technological, and geopolitical consequences that could ripple out for decades to come. Let's rewind a bit and see how we got here. For decades, access to space was dominated by an exclusive club. The United States, Russia, and select European partners took turns leading landmark missions, from the moon landings to the International Space Station. China was, by some accounts, shut out, excluded from the ISS under legal and security restrictions, and viewed as a latecomer to the party. Yet China's journey to the cosmos traces back over half a century. In 1970, it launched its first satellite, marking itself as a spacefaring nation. The next steps came gradually. Uncrewed missions, then the game-changing decision to develop its own human spaceflight program. The Shenzhou missions became the backbone of China's ambitions. Each step, Shenzhou 5's first crewed flight in 2003, the first spacewalk in 2008 with Shenzhou 7, and the long-term habitation goals, was meticulously planned. And all the while, China was laying groundwork not just to catch up, but to leapfrog. Fast forward to today. Tiangong, which means Heavenly Palace, is more than just a science lab. With the Shenzhou 20 crew safely inside after a landmark 8-hour spacewalk, the station enters a new era. The plan? Massive expansion. By the end of this decade, Tiangong is set to grow to 6 modules, up from the current 3, boosting its mass to 180 tons. It will bristle with advanced tools, onboard 3D printers for in-orbit repairs, enhanced sensors to fend off the threat of orbital debris, and cutting-edge laboratories to attract scientists from around the globe. And Tiangong won't be alone. China's Xuntian Space Telescope, scheduled for launch in 2026, will co-orbit with the station, promising Hubble-class observations tailored for a new era. The goal? Scanning the cosmos not just for the sake of discovery, but to build technological and economic advantage. Enthusiasm in Beijing is palpable. State media broadcasts each spacewalk. School children learn the names of Chen Dong and his fellow crew, Chen Zhongrui and Wang Jie, alongside those of American and Russian astronauts. But this national pride is not just about science. It's about stature, influence, and, most crucially, opportunity. China's space program is now inextricably tied to its broader economic and technological strategy. The expansion of Tiangong, the upcoming launch of Xuntian, and the dazzlingly ambitious plans for lunar and Mars missions are more than just scientific milestones. They're blueprints for asserting influence in orbit, on the moon, and beyond. And everyone, Washington, Moscow, Brussels, and Delhi, is paying close attention. As Andrew Jones, a seasoned space analyst, recently noted, with Shenzhou 19's 9-hour spacewalk in late 2024 and the flawless execution of Shenzhou 20's tasks, China is proving that it's not just catching up, but innovating on its own terms. It's worth pausing to grasp the scale of what's unfolding here. China openly intends to establish an international lunar research station at the moon's south pole by 2035, a scientific outpost that could one day grow into a permanent base. The lunar south pole offers not just a grand view, but something more precious: water ice, the key resource to sustaining human presence and perhaps fueling return trips or even outbound missions to Mars. And yes, Mars is firmly on the agenda. The target year, 2033, for the first Chinese crewed mission to the Red Planet. The technological, logistical, and financial hurdles are daunting, but so are the potential rewards. As Wu Weiren, chief designer of China's lunar program, put it, By 2050, we envision a comprehensive research network on the moon, establishing a bridgehead for the next era of exploration. That future, however, is hardly guaranteed. For each step forward, new obstacles appear, some technical, some diplomatic, many economic. Let's break down the main drivers and dilemmas facing China, and by extension, the world title holders of tomorrow's space economy. First, the technology. In the last 5 years alone, China's expertise has broadened beyond rockets and satellites. The current Tiangong modules integrate advanced robotics, autonomous systems, and AI-enabled monitoring. The Shenzhou 20 mission, with its precise installation of debris protection using both human and robotic arms, shows just how seamlessly these capabilities now mesh. The upcoming edition of 3D printers could revolutionize on-orbit repairs and manufacturing. Yet more modules and more equipment mean more opportunity for things to go wrong, especially with the ever-present danger of space debris. One stray bolt or splinter from an old satellite rocketing at 28,000 kilometers per hour could spell disaster. With thousands of pieces of junk already crowding low Earth orbit, Tiangong's ongoing safety depends on continuous upgrades and split-second coordination between astronauts, ground controllers, and automated defenses. It's a high-wire act, one that keeps mission planners awake at night. Then there's the economic angle. Investing billions in hardware that orbits above Earth's atmosphere isn't just about national pride or scientific glory. It's a stake in the most lucrative, untapped real estate in human history. Resource extraction, from lunar ice to rare minerals, beckons. The moon and asteroids could become the oil fields of the 21st century, while Mars represents the next great leap for those betting on humanity's multiplanetary future. China's push is setting off ripples in global markets. New suppliers, satellite manufacturers, technology startups, and even legacy aerospace giants are watching closely, eager to find opportunities, or bracing for disruption. International collaborations, once dominated by the US-centric ISS, may soon have to reroute through Beijing. But the rules for who gets to play, and on what terms, are still a work in progress. And this brings us to the thorniest issue of all, politics and power. China's exclusion from the ISS was partly justified by concerns over technology transfer and national security. In response, it's not just building its own alternatives, it's inviting others to join. The vision for the expanded Tiangong and the future lunar base includes a call for international partners, especially those from the global south, who may feel overlooked by the Western-led consortiums. Will China's efforts promote a new era of scientific cooperation or spark a high-stakes contest for space supremacy? On one hand, more countries working together could yield breakthroughs that benefit all humanity. On the other, the potential for conflict over resources, territory, even navigation rights is real. As more players crowd Earth orbit and set their sights on the Moon and Mars, the risk of accidents, misunderstandings, or even deliberate sabotage rises. Space governance at present is a patchwork of treaties and untested norms. The Outer Space Treaty of 1967, the backbone of today's legal framework, barely envisioned private companies or whole nations staking claims to lunar ice or orbital slots. Now, with technology advancing faster than regulation, the world faces a potential Wild West in orbit, a free-for-all where the biggest, boldest, or best-equipped may claim the spoils. International space law is not keeping pace with commercial and national ambitions, warns Dr. Namrata Goswami, an expert on space policy. The growth of independent programs like China's creates both opportunities for collaboration and the risk of fragmentation, especially if new rules aren't agreed upon by all major players. Meanwhile, back at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center, the successful return of Chendong and Zhengzhongrui is celebrated as another step toward a much larger goal. Yet behind the confident headlines and national pride, critical questions remain. Is China prepared to handle the enormous risks and responsibilities its ambitions entail? Will its call for international partners be welcomed or viewed with suspicion? And perhaps most importantly, as the world's economic and technological landscape tilts ever further into space, whose rules will govern this new frontier, and who stands to benefit the most? In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into these dilemmas. We'll explore the technological challenges still facing Tiangong and the lunar base, the economic strategies at play, and the high-stakes diplomatic maneuvers unfolding behind the scenes. Because as competition in orbit heats up, one thing is certain: the future of space, and the fortunes it promises, hangs in the balance. China's recent breakthroughs aboard Tiangong, the Shenzhou 20 mission, the historic spacewalks, and the relentless pace of upgrades have set the stage for a new era in space. But with every leap, the future becomes more unpredictable, the path forward strewn with both dazzling opportunities and formidable risks. Picture this. It's the late 2020s. Tiangong isn't just the pride of China. It's evolving into a truly multinational outpost. The station's modules are multiplying, advanced 3D printers are humming, and the Suntian Space Telescope is peering deeper into the cosmos from its synchronized orbit. Research teams from Asia, Europe, and Africa are collaborating on projects ranging from high-speed material processing to new medicines that can only be made in microgravity. For the first time in history, a Chinese-led space station rivals or surpasses what the International Space Station once was, a hub not just of science but of diplomacy. Yet this is only one scenario. The expansion of Tiangong is not happening in a vacuum. As China's ambitions grow, so does the race for dominance in the ultimate high ground, space. The stakes are enormous. Whoever leads in orbital infrastructure, lunar bases, or asteroid mining could define the economic and strategic balance of the 21st century. Let's dig into the future consequences and why every move China makes is watched around the world. First, the promise and peril of international partnerships. China has invited other countries to join projects on Tiangong and, eventually, the International Lunar Research Station. This sounds like a new dawn of cooperation. Countries barred from the ISS, like many emerging nations, finally have a ticket to space. Scientific talent from across the global south is flocking to Beijing's space agency with experiment proposals. But there's another side. The United States and many of its allies remain wary. Memories of technology transfer and national security disputes linger. This could lead to a new kind of split in orbit, a world where two rival coalitions, led by China and the US, increasingly build separate infrastructure and research agendas. The so-called space schism could transform the heavens into a new geopolitical chessboard. Expert Andrew Jones puts it bluntly, Tiangong's expansion is both a bridge and a wall. It can unite the world's scientists or entrench divisions. Then there's the moon. By 2035, if all goes to plan, China's International Lunar Research Station could be operational near the lunar South Pole, a region prized for its water ice, vital for life support and rocket fuel. China has already signed agreements with Russia, several Asian nations, and others to join forces. But NASA's Artemis program has its own coalition racing to the same region. The consequences? First, a rare opportunity. Human outposts on the moon could create a new economy, with mining, manufacturing, and even tourism. But this rivalry might trigger a scramble for lunar resources before laws can catch up. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty declared the moon the province of all mankind, but offered few details about who gets what. Today, that legal vacuum threatens to become a battleground over lunar territory and resources. Wu Weiren, the architect of China's lunar vision, is optimistic. The ILRS will be open, peaceful, and beneficial for all. But negotiators in Washington and Brussels see risks. What if one country monopolizes vital resources or denies rivals access? The Mars dream is even more audacious. China aims to land humans on the red planet by 2033, a timeline considered ambitious by any standard. Succeeding would cement China's status as the world's undisputed space leader, at least in terms of firsts. But the technological challenges are brutal. Surviving long-duration interplanetary travel, landing on a hostile surface, and returning safely demand engineering miracles. If China pulls it off, the global reaction could be seismic, opening new frontiers, or stoking fears of an unstoppable Chinese advantage. But let's not forget the space debris problem. Just as Shenzhou 20 astronauts installed new debris shields on Tiangong, the world's growing swarm of satellites and junk threaten every mission. A single collision could cripple the station or start a cascade of destruction across orbit. China's response, advanced detection and robotic cleanup, may set standards the rest of the world must follow. Or, if mismanaged, a catastrophic accident could turn public opinion and global politics against further expansion. Now, what does all this mean for you, watching on your phone or laptop as the next chapter of the space race unfolds? First, the technological ripple effects. Space exploration is the ultimate test bed. The miniaturization powering your smartphone began with satellites. Breakthroughs in materials, robotics, and medical tech on Tiangong and future lunar bases could rewrite what's possible on Earth. Imagine new alloys, radiation-proof electronics, or even cancer cures, first tested in microgravity, transforming daily life a decade from now. Second, the economic stakes. If China and its partners pioneer asteroid mining or lunar resource processing, the cost of high-tech goods could plummet. Space-based solar power, now in the prototype stage, might one day beam endless clean energy to stations on Earth. That could reshape global industry and tip the balance of economic power. Third, the governance question. Space has always been a laboratory for new models of cooperation or rivalry. The rules set today, whether open and inclusive or narrowly nationalistic, will define the opportunities your generation and the next actually get. If governments and agencies agree on joint mining standards, open data, and environmental protections, the benefits will multiply. If mistrust wins and each country guards its corner, the likely result is waste, conflict, maybe even outright confrontation. So what can you actually learn or do with this knowledge? Stay informed. The headlines about China in space aren't just about rockets and robots. They're about who gets to write the rules of tomorrow and who reaps the rewards. If you're a student or professional, space is rapidly opening as a career field, even for those who never dreamed of being an astronaut. International collaborations on Tiangong, the ILRS, and beyond are creating demand for engineers, scientists, legal experts, translators, and managers from every background. If you're an entrepreneur or investor, pay attention to the supply chains, patents, and startups springing up around these missions. The next SpaceX or Huawei of orbital tech could come from Mumbai, Nairobi, or Sao Paulo, serving China's programs as much as America's. And if you're a concerned global citizen, push for your leaders to engage in international dialogue on space governance. Support transparency, science sharing, and peaceful use policies. The rules being drafted today will decide whether space becomes a new Wild West or a shared future. Here's the secret fact. Quietly, behind the headlines, China is already training the world's first lunar construction engineers, not just astronauts or scientists, but the people who will one day 3D print habitats on the moon. As Wu Weiren hinted, to live and work on the moon, you need not just explorers, but builders. The next generation of space heroes may look very different from the test pilots and cosmonauts of old. So to wrap up, how will China navigate these risks and ambitions, and who really gets to shape the future of space? The answer is still unfolding, but one thing is clear. China's path is bold and deeply strategic. Its willingness to open projects to international partners suggests collaboration could win out, if rivalries don't harden. But without modern, enforced global rules, the danger of resource conflict and accidental escalation is real. The outcome will depend on choices made today, in Beijing, Washington, Moscow, Brussels, and beyond. Ultimately, the future of space is not about flags or firsts. It's about whether humanity can rise above old divisions and build something bigger, on orbit, the moon, and maybe Mars. The door is open. Whether we step through it together or slam it shut in the face of competition is up to all of us. If you want to make your voice heard on space policy or learn how to get involved in this new space revolution, check out the resources in the description. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Do you see China's rise